Hey, what's up, guys? Got the glasses on. Let's talk reading with Rob. Let's talk How to Stand Up to a Dictator by Maria Ressa, The Fight for Our Future. And that's exactly what it is. Now, for those of you who don't know who Maria Ressa is, she's, first of all, a Nobel Peace Prize winner. She's also Filipina, American Filipina. She was born in the Philippines, grew up in the United States in New Jersey, went back to the Philippines as a journalist, and then began an online journalism company with some co-founders there called Rappler that was incredibly successful during the early days of social media. Facebook played a huge part of that back in the halcyon days when we thought Facebook was going to be a force for good. And Maria was part of that. She was so successful that she became a target of Rodrigo Duterte's regime. For those of you who remember, this is a man who carried out extrajudicial killings in the Philippines for a drug problem that did not exist. However, through the course of disinformation, misinformation, and bots and trolls, was able to create a problem so that then he could be elected to solve that problem. Corruption, authoritarianism, fascism. So Maria became the face of Rappler, and she became a target of the Duterte regime. And what happens in the Philippines almost always ends up happening in the United States. It's like a test case, especially when it comes to online. There's 100 million people in the Philippines. Most of them are online, so it gets tested out from legitimate online companies to illegitimate bots and troll farms and people like that. Having had some experience with cyber trolling since the early days with an unhinged individual, and then later on, as my advocacy for Ukraine ramped up with Russian bots and trolls, and just being out there in the public sphere a little bit, I can kind of relate to what Maria's was up against on the most small fractional level. She is still fighting this, even though Duterte is no longer in power, and Bongbong is now the president. Bongbong. They use nicknames a lot in the Philippines, but Bongbong is the son of Ferdinand Marcos, the dictator, who killed so many people there. So you can see what happens in the Philippines is a precursor to what happens in the United States, in that a war criminal, his offspring, can be reelected. They have revisionist history. If that sounds like January 6th, that's exactly what happened here with January 6th. Revisionist history. What you see is not what you're seeing. We're in an upside down world. And Maria Ressa's book is a must read for anybody who wants to fight against this. Now, the first part talks about her childhood and how she grows up. So it's a little bit like an autobiography. But when she gets into Facebook, she has many interactions with Zuckerberg. She doesn't hold back on her critique of him, because when they had a fork in the road at Facebook, they could have chosen to do what journalists have always done, which is try to be fair and even-handed and clear and transparent, and to be truth tellers. Facebook chose the opposite, and they chose profit over people, because disinformation and misinformation and lies spread faster than truth, because it makes a lot more money, as does outrage and hate. So that's the path that Facebook chose a few years ago, and we're all living with the consequences now. And of course, other social media and technology companies have followed. And so the result is we have a lot of tech bros out there running the world, or trying to run the world, and we're trying to fight back. The first way to fight back is through disinformation. So a couple of quotes. Lies that are repeated over and over exponentially change the public's perception of an issue. In other words, right now, free speech is being used to stifle free speech. It's being used to muddy the waters. A mission, and I heard this not in Maria's book, but just about disinformation in general, is not to get you to believe a lie, but to get you to doubt the truth. And that's what so many people are doing right now. And what I like about Maria's book is not just an autobiography or her experience, but how to fight back, true to the title, How to Stand Up to a Dictator. You want to know terms like brigading, sock puppets, astroturfing. You want to know what those mean. That way you can understand how to fight back against what is essentially cyber madness. Recommend it. How to Stand Up to a Dictator, Maria Ressa. It's a fascinating book. Thank you, Maria, for what you've done, what you've gone through, and the warnings that you tried to give Facebook at the beginning, and they did not heed them because they wanted money, and the warnings that you're giving us now. I appreciate it. She's working for all our behalves, and this is a good book. It's a fast read. It's an informative read. Check it out.